You know, when you first see it, The Little Prince looks like a simple children's book, but it's actually one of the most profound stories ever written about life, about loss, and what it really means to see the world not just with your eyes, but with your heart. It's really not just a story for kids, it's more like a guide for grown-ups on how to remember what's actually important.
I mean, right from the very first page, the author Antoine de Saint-Exupéry lays it all out. This quote, it just perfectly nails the huge gap between the imaginative world of a child and the, let's say, rigid world of an adult. And this whole theme kicks off with a really simple drawing.
So the narrator tells us about his drawing number 1. When he shows it to adults, they all see the same thing, a hat. But what the narrator, and anyone with a bit of imagination sees, is way cooler. It's a boa constrictor digesting an elephant. For him, this drawing becomes a kind of secret test, a way to find someone who gets it, someone of true understanding. But for years, he finds no one, and so he lives this lonely life until his plane crashes in the desert, and everything changes.
Okay, so let's talk about that crash in the desert. That's where the story really gets going. And this is where things get really interesting, because it's where fiction and real life just slam into each other. You see, there are two pilots at the heart of this story, our narrator in the book and his real-world creator, whose own life was a high-flying adventure.
What's so incredible about Saint-Exupéry is that you really can't separate the man from his work. This guy wasn't just sitting at a desk. No way. He was a pioneering aviator flying these super dangerous mail routes back when flying was still a wild frontier. His whole life, the adventure, the danger, the deep thinking, it's all woven right into his writing. And get this, he wrote The Little Prince while he was in exile in New York during World War II, a world away from his home.
So yeah, that opening scene in the book, totally not made up. Saint-Exupéry himself actually crashed in the Sahara and almost died of thirst. That terrifying experience, it became the starting point for the entire book. And it's right there in that huge, lonely desert that our narrator is woken up by this strange little voice asking him to draw a sheep. So we find out that this little prince has left his home, a tiny little planet called asteroid B612, because of a tricky relationship with a rose. His journey then takes him to all these other little planets, and each one is inhabited by a single adult. And this whole tour, it's just a brilliant and pretty funny takedown of all the absurd things adults get obsessed with.
On this trip, the prince bumps into all these characters. There's a king with no subjects, a conceited guy who just wants everyone to tell him how great he is, and a businessman who thinks he owns the stars just because he counts them. Each one is totally lost in some pointless task. The only person he kind of respects is the lamplighter, because at least his work, even though it's repetitive, is for something other than himself. To the prince, it's all just bizarre.
And this phrase right here, this is the grown-up motto. The businessman says it to justify why he's counting stars. Even our narrator, the pilot, says it when he's desperately trying to fix his plane's engine. It's the ultimate excuse for being too busy, to see a flower, to hear someone laugh, to connect with what really matters.
So after meeting all these strange adults, the prince finally lands on Earth, and he's just crushed when he finds a garden with 5,000 roses, and he realizes his own flower isn't unique after all. He's so heartbroken he just lies down in the grass and cries. And right then, at his absolute lowest point, a fox shows up.
The fox tells the prince, "Hey, I can't play with you because I'm not tamed." The prince, of course, has no idea what that means. And that one simple, honest question, it unlocks the entire philosophical heart of the book.
So the fox explains this really beautiful idea. To tame something isn't about control. It's an act that we forget to do. It means to establish ties, to create a unique bond with something or someone. It's about taking one thing out of 100,000 others and, through time and connection, making it the only one in the world that matters to you.
And the result of that connection? It's huge. Before they're tamed, the prince is just one boy among many, and the fox is just another fox. But after, they'll actually need each other. They'll become one of a kind just for each other. The sound of the prince's footsteps will become like music, and the golden wheat fields will always remind the fox of the prince's golden hair.
For the prince, this is a total game changer. He goes back to that garden of roses and tells them, "You are beautiful, but you are empty." He finally gets it. His rose is more important than all those thousands of others combined because she's the one he watered, the one he put a screen up for, the one he listened to. She is his rose.
And this is the secret the fox gives to the prince as a parting gift. It's the central message of the whole book. What makes the rose special isn't what she looks like. There are thousands just like her. It's the invisible stuff, the bond of love and the time they shared.
But, with that understanding comes something else: responsibility. The fox's last piece of wisdom is that love isn't just a feeling you have, it's something you do. The time you waste on your rose is what makes her so important. And the prince now knows he has to go back to his planet. He's responsible for his rose.
Okay, so the ending of the story, it's beautiful, but it's also incredibly sad. And what's really haunting is how closely it mirrors what happened to the author himself in real life.
You see, Saint-Exupéry had this image in his head for decades. When he was a teenager, he watched his younger brother François die, and he described it just like that. Losing his brother totally shaped how he saw death, not as this violent thing, but as a quiet, gentle falling away. And he gave that idea to his most famous character.
In the book, the little prince knows his body is too heavy to get back home to his star, so he lets a snake bite him. He just falls silently onto the sand, and the narrator never finds his body. Well, just 1 year after he wrote that, Saint-Exupéry gets in his plane for a reconnaissance mission and just disappears. His body was never found. It's incredible. Two innocents, both connected to the sky, both leaving us with a mystery.
But here's the thing. The story doesn't really end on a sad note. Instead, it leaves us with a gift and a final question that kind of flips everything on its head, inviting us to keep wondering.
Right before he goes, the prince tells the narrator, "Hey, don't be sad, because I'll be laughing up on one of the stars. When you look at the night sky, it'll be as if all the stars are laughing." I mean, what a powerful way to change how you see things, right? The stars are no longer just things to be counted or owned. They're a living reminder of love and laughter. And so the narrator is left with this one big unanswered question. See, he drew a muzzle for the prince's sheep, but he forgot to draw a leather strap for it. So he's always wondering, did the sheep get to the rose? For him, the answer to that question changes the entire universe. If the rose is safe, the stars are laughing. If she's gone, they're all weeping. And that right there is the book's final brilliant challenge to every single one of us. To a grown-up who's only worried about matters of consequence, the fate of some sheep and some flower on an imaginary planet means nothing. But if you get it, if you know what it means to love something and be responsible for it, then you know this is the most important question in the entire universe. It's asking us every single day to choose what kind of world we want to live in. One where what's essential is invisible, or one where all we can see is the hat.